On March 31st, Officer Romero of the Pueblo Police Department in Colorado approached Sean O'Connell, a First Amendment auditor who was standing on a public sidewalk taking photos of the outside of the police department. Within moments of making contact, Romero placed O'Connell in handcuffs. Everything that happened afterward was captured on the officer's body camera, revealing how quickly a routine public encounter escalated into a serious confrontation.
Are you recording?
Hey there. How are you? Excuse me, sir. What are you doing? Hey. Hey. I'm asking you a question. Who are you? Why are you taking pictures of the department? Sir.
Don't touch me.
Okay, I'm gonna
Don't
put you in
touch me.
cuffs.
Okay,
Okay?
that's fine.
You're gonna
I
be
suggest
put in
you get a
cuffs.
supervisor.
Okay, supervisor's on his way. Okay? I'm asking you questions
Hey
here.
guys, I'm being arrested right now, being put in cuffs for taking pictures of the police department. Don't turn my phone off.
Okay, you are not in control here.
I am, actually. You work for me, I don't work for you.
46, I got one in custody over here. I need a
Hey, you're
supervisor.
gonna lose your job, buddy. It's illegal detainment. Can you please call a supervisor out here? This is illegal detainment under 16.3.103.
Okay. Hang out here.
You don't have permission to search me. I don't consent to any search procedures.
Okay, I'm waiting for a supervisor to come up here.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
What's your name and badge number?
Romero,
Romero?
0702.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Did you stop my video camera over there?
I'm not messing with your phone, okay?
Can you tell this officer to take his hands off me and to uncuff me?
No, I don't want to tell him anything.
Okay.
You'll wait till a supervisor gets here, and you can talk to him from there, okay?
All right, I'm done talking to you guys then.
Okay.
So what's up?
He's taking pictures of the department, taking pictures of all our stuff here, so I don't know what he's doing. Try to talk to him. He's not talking to me. He starts walking away.
Is that a reason to cuff me?
Yeah,
that
you're
reasonable
being
articulable
detained right
suspicion?
now. Yeah.
For what? For what crime?
Yeah. No, it's reasonable suspicion.
Of what crime?
Okay.
You have to have reasonable suspicion of a crime to detain somebody.
I am not going to speak to you.
That's
you can
fine.
speak to my supervisor when he gets here.
You have me in cuffs right now.
Okay, yeah. You're
So
being
I'm
detained.
What you just witnessed was far more than a questionable police encounter. From the very beginning, this was an unreasonable seizure under the Fourth Amendment. The detention was unconstitutional the moment it started. Colorado falls under the jurisdiction of the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, where the right to photograph and record in public spaces had already been recognized as a clearly established constitutional right at the time of this incident. That legal detail is critical, because a clearly established right means any reasonable officer should already understand that violating it is unlawful. Officer Romero did not need additional training or legal clarification to know that a man standing on a public sidewalk with a camera was not committing a crime. Yet within seconds of the interaction, he escalated the situation by placing Sean O'Connell in handcuffs. That changes the legal analysis entirely. This was not simply a casual conversation or a brief stop for questioning. Handcuffing someone is a serious physical restraint. And under the Fourth Amendment, that level of force requires specific and articulable facts suggesting danger or criminal activity. None were present here. The Supreme Court made this standard clear in Terry v. Ohio back in 1968. Under Terry, officers may conduct an investigatory stop only when they have reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed, is being committed, or is about to occur. Reasonable suspicion cannot be based on a vague feeling, a hunch, or personal assumptions. In this case, Romero had no evidence of criminal conduct. What he had was a camera, a public sidewalk, and suspicion based entirely on appearance and assumption. And none of those things are crimes. That's what makes this encounter so significant. The Constitution does not allow officers to detain or restrain people simply because lawful behavior makes them uncomfortable or suspicious. Rights do not disappear because someone chooses to record in public. When constitutional protections are ignored in moments like this, public accountability becomes essential.
What's that?
You're wearing your
We're not asking you questions.
What? You didn't ask me any questions? You asked me what I was doing, what I was doing, what I was doing. I chose not to answer you, which I have a right to do. Do I not? I do. Thank you. I hope this doesn't take long, Mr. Prince. Then turns into an arrest statement. Hey guys, if I'm still live streaming, call the Pueblo Police Department. Let them know officers Romero and Waring, something like that, are both detaining me illegally outside the Pueblo Department. I don't even know what street this is.
O'Connell correctly cited the very statute Officer Romero was violating, and every part of his explanation was legally accurate. Under Colorado Revised Statute Section 16.3.103, a police officer may only stop or detain someone when there is reasonable suspicion that the person has committed, is committing, or is about to commit a crime. In this case, Romero had no facts that came close to meeting that standard. There was no criminal behavior, no threat, and no evidence of unlawful activity, only a man peacefully standing on a public sidewalk with a camera. But the constitutional issues did not stop there. A second violation emerged the moment Romero escalated to handcuffs after O'Connell declined to answer questions. That crosses into the territory of First Amendment retaliation. Courts have repeatedly ruled that when an officer takes adverse action against a citizen, especially physical restraint or detention, because the person exercised a protected constitutional right, it can amount to unlawful retaliation. O'Connell was exercising multiple constitutional protections at once. The right to remain silent is protected under the Fifth Amendment, while the right to refuse conversation during a consensual police encounter is tied to First Amendment protections as well. Romero's decision to handcuff him immediately after he chose not to engage verbally raises serious constitutional concerns because the escalation appeared tied directly to the exercise of those rights. What made O'Connell's response especially important was his composure. He cited the law clearly, requested a supervisor, and then stopped talking. He did not become aggressive, emotional, or confrontational. Instead, he stayed calm and gave the officer nothing additional to use against him. That level-headed response protected his position legally and preserved every option available to him afterward. Moments like this highlight why understanding constitutional rights matters so much. Knowing the law, remaining calm, and refusing to escalate can completely change the outcome of an encounter, especially when the interaction itself may already be violating constitutional limits.
Always on. So I'm loading up. I'm loading up. This guy's on the corner. I thought he was taking a picture of the eagle on the department. He's like, oh, okay, no big deal. So I started, putting myself in my patrol vehicle. So he walks past it, and I was like, oh, he's leaving. Can you answer?
Can't talk right now. I'm busy.
So he starts walking, so I back up, and then he's next to this corner now taking pictures. I'm like, what is he doing? So then he comes over, he starts taking pictures. Oh, it looks like he's taking pictures of these signs. I don't know if he's taking pictures of these cars or what.
Part of an organization called the First Amendment Strike Team.
Is he?
Yeah,
okay.
So he's trying to see what we're going to do.
Okay.
He has every right to do that.
Okay, and that's fine with that. Yeah. I don't have
Uncuff him.
Uncuff
to
him. Get this officer right now.
Huh?
Uncuff. Because I did nothing wrong. I was not breaking the law, and this officer just illegally detained me under CRS 16-103.
At that moment, Officer Romero's own explanation completely undermined the legal basis for the detention. According to his own words, he believed O'Connell might have been photographing police vehicles or an eagle displayed on the front of the building. And that was the full extent of his justification. No suspicious conduct, no criminal act, and no evidence of unlawful intent. Just an assumption based on where a camera happened to be pointed. The Supreme Court addressed this issue clearly in Terry v. Ohio. Reasonable suspicion cannot be built on a vague feeling, a guess, or an officer's personal instinct. It must be supported by specific and articulable facts indicating that criminal activity is taking place or about to occur. Looking at a parked vehicle or filming a decorative eagle on a public building does not come close to meeting that standard. Those actions are entirely lawful and ordinary in a public space. What Romero described was not reasonable suspicion. It was a hunch. And under constitutional law, a hunch has never been enough to justify detaining someone, much less placing them in handcuffs. Courts within the 10th Circuit have repeatedly reinforced that public photography, standing alone, does not establish reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. That's what makes Romero's own admission so damaging to the legality of the encounter. He lacked a constitutional basis when he first approached O'Connell, failed to develop one during the interaction, and ultimately confirmed himself that no legal threshold had ever been met. The detention was not supported by facts, only by assumption and discomfort with lawful behavior.
First Amendment strike team.
Okay.
I know exactly who you are.
Exactly. So you know I'm not out here doing anything illegal.
I do.
No, nothing.
I do.
I'd like to file a complaint against this officer for
There's two-
deprivation of rights.
You can actually go into the department.
Okay.
File a complaint if you'd like to. Should have caught you before. But I understand totally what you're doing.
So will you be suspended administratively until the thing is cleared out?
No.
He just broke the law.
I understand
He
that.
should be arrested.
So an internal affairs investigation, if you want to file a complaint, will be conducted, and depending on the findings of that, it'll be dealt with depending on what.
Okay. So is there going to be any issue with me getting his body cam information?
That you would have to go through our records division.
Yep.
I'm not sure how that works.
Hey guys, call Pueblo Police Department and complain about Officer Romero, badge number 0707. He just detained me and said that he was detaining me because I chose not to answer his questions.
I'm not really sure on how that works. I have to look at the policy on that. I believe that there's a charge. Here's Sergeant Reyes. He's the supervisor on the watch commander. And he might know. I'm not sure how that works. Actually, I can make a phone call and find out.
I think I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're good. I'm gonna go home now.
Yeah.
You can go home.
Romero, badge 0702.
Yes, Captain Martin needs to speak to you. So I don't know if they even need me here anymore, so.
Is there a charge? Okay. Do you know what the charge is? Okay, I'll find out.
Chose not to answer his questions, so you grab me by the arm.
Okay. 30 seconds. Yeah, he's asking a question. It's that guy.
Sergeant Reyes here.
Can you call records real quick? There, you have to submit a Freedom of Information Act for the Bodycam video. There's a charge. I'm not sure what the charge is, okay. But I'm going to find out.
I'm sure records can probably tell me.
Yeah, I'm going to call just so you know now.
Thank you, man. I appreciate all your help.
What was your name, sir?
No, I'm not going to get that.
Okay.
Thank you. Car 630.
Records.
Going to be a plate.
They need me here, or should I leave?
Just hang on.
Huh?
Just hang on.
This is exactly what proper supervision is supposed to look like. When the captain arrived on scene, he quickly evaluated the facts, recognized there was no lawful basis for the detention, ordered O'Connell to be uncuffed, and directed him toward the official complaint process. Importantly, he did not attempt to excuse the stop or blindly defend Officer Romero's actions. Supervisors who correct constitutional violations immediately, instead of waiting for courts or lawsuits to expose them later, play a critical role in reducing institutional liability and restoring accountability. Of course, correcting the mistake afterward did not erase what had already happened. The unlawful detention and use of handcuffs had already occurred, but the supervisor's response still mattered because it created a documented acknowledgement that internal corrective procedures existed. It also provided O'Connell with a clear pathway toward the civil action he would later pursue successfully. As for Officer Romero, the legal failures in this encounter were significant. He approached a citizen engaged in clearly protected First Amendment activity, detained him without reasonable suspicion, ignored the specific Colorado statute O'Connell cited during the stop, and later admitted that the entire encounter was based on little more than curiosity about what the camera was pointed at. Under Terry v. Ohio, that is nowhere near enough to justify detention. A hunch, assumption, or discomfort with public recording does not meet constitutional standards. The situation became even more serious when Romero escalated to handcuffs after O'Connell exercised his right to remain silent and declined to engage in conversation. That raised major First Amendment retaliation concerns because courts have repeatedly held that officers cannot punish citizens for exercising clearly established constitutional rights. At the time of this encounter, both federal law and Tenth Circuit precedent already recognized public photography and recording as protected activity. That legal reality is what made the lawsuit especially difficult for the city to defend. Qualified immunity generally protects officers only when the law is unclear or unsettled. But this situation was not legally ambiguous. O'Connell was standing on a public sidewalk with a camera and exercising his constitutional rights peacefully. Because of that, the city of Pueblo ultimately agreed to a $41,000 settlement rather than risk a trial where qualified immunity may have been denied and the evidence fully examined in court. The impact extended beyond financial damages. As part of the settlement, the Pueblo Police Department was reportedly required to revise its policies and training regarding First Amendment protected activities and public recording. In other words, a single unlawful stop resulted in department-wide policy changes that future officers would now be trained under. One unconstitutional detention ended up rewriting procedures for an entire department. O'Connell's handling of the encounter played a major role in that outcome. From the very beginning, he remained calm,